Our ability to regulate our emotions is one of the most important life skills because it influences all areas of life, our health and well-being, relationships, our motivation and ability to be consistent and vigorous in the pursuance of our goals. So stay tuned to learn about 5 fundamental strategies to regulating your emotions. Hey everyone, welcome here. I'm Maika. I'm a psychologist, and this is Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership. And emotion regulation is a fundamental part of self-leadership. We need emotions to feel good, pursue goals, experience connection in relationships. But sometimes emotions can also get in the way and make things harder. We can use emotion regulation tools to influence what happens with our emotions. We can maintain and intensify or reduce emotions. We can also learn how to process them in a way that's helpful. Emotions always have causes and triggers, even if sometimes it doesn't seem that way. It starts out with a situation that you're in that is emotionally relevant to you, or you could also be thinking of it. Then your attention focusing on certain aspects of the situation, processing that, and then experiencing an emotional response and perhaps also acting in a different way according to that emotion. For example, you may be problem solving with someone. This could be at work, with friends, or your family. That's the situation. And then your attention drifts to a specific solution that you think would be really important to implement and that you like a lot. That's your focus of attention. Then you start having thoughts about this. This could be, I really hope I can convince this person of how much better my solution is. It could also be, they're not really listening. They don't seem to get me. It could also be, if I can't get this person to agree to my solution, the outcome will be terrible. So those were your thoughts. And then you'll have an emotional response. And in this case, most probably it will be something like fear mixed with anger. Along this succession of how emotions arise in us, we can intervene and regulate our emotions in 5 ways. Number 1, choosing the situations we enter wisely, situation selection. This strategy is about planning the emotional side of our experience, anticipating which emotions we will most likely experience in certain situations, and then deciding which situations we want to pursue or avoid based on what we anticipate. It's a question of which places do I want to be at and for how long? Who do I want to hang out with on a deep level? Which activities do I want to pursue and which ones do I avoid? What content do I want to read, watch, and hear? Every single day, we make countless decisions about these things, and those are simultaneously also decisions about how you're going to end up feeling. This strategy is not without its challenges. We can't always anticipate correctly. We don't always have a choice whether or not we will experience a certain situation. And the short and long-term consequences of avoiding situations or pursuing situations can be in conflict. And this is really important. It may be relieving to us in a certain situation to avoid pursuing a project, avoid social situations, or dealing with a particular problem, but that doesn't help us long term. So what I want to say is that situation selection, pursuing or avoiding situations, this strategy itself is neutral. And it's up to us to use it in a way that is helpful and can be counted as healthy emotion regulation. Number 2, influencing situations, situation modification. The next step we can take is to influence and design situations so that our emotions can stay in a place that is helpful and healthy. This step is about the how of situations. So let's say you've decided to pursue something that is important to you, but you're also feeling fear and connection to that. You can now adapt the size of the first step you're going to take into that direction to something that is scary, but also manageable. Or if you know that a difficult conversation is coming up, you can think about ways in which you can influence it so it doesn't escalate. You can prepare the conversation and talk to the other person about how you think it would be best to talk about this before you start the actual conversation. Another way we can influence situations is by influencing our general state, the state that we will be in when we're in those situations, through activities like grounding exercises, walks, journaling, a good night's rest beforehand. This allows you to relish positive experiences more and suffer less in difficult situations. Number 3, directing our attention, attentional deployment. Our focus of attention is like a spotlight. We can direct it onto different aspects of situations on the outside, but also different sensations and feelings and aspects of our inner experience. And some of these aspects can grab our attention more than others, especially if they're connected to our past or our fears. And some aspects are more helpful to our emotional regulation to be focused on than others. And what gives us agency in regulating our emotions in this area is that we have a flexible focus. We can always flexibly direct our attention to different aspects of situations. We have an influence on that. What's important here, this doesn't mean to live in a state of chronic distraction from our emotions, experience, or thoughts. It also doesn't mean to try to suppress, forbid, and avoid completely certain aspects of our inner experience, thoughts, emotions. That actually doesn't work. It makes them more likely to pop up and stronger. So this strategy is not chronic distraction or thought and emotion suppression. What this strategy is about is allowing our experience to be what it is, allowing thoughts to flow as they flow, and then picking from that what we want to focus in on. Number 4, changing the way we think, cognitive restructuring. When we change the way we think about an event and our ability to handle it, that changes the emotional impact of that event. And the greatest challenge here is that we have so many habitual ways of seeing things that we're not aware of most of the time. So that's why it's so helpful to get to know these habitual thinking patterns so that we can recognize them whenever they're active and notice whether or not they're applicable to the present situation and helpful. Our brain is very quick in offering possible explanations to situations and events, and we need to check in with our thoughts and see, is this situation really threatening, or am I projecting that impression into it? Or the other way around, is this really normal, natural, okay? Or am I overlooking some red flags and signs that things need to change? Number 5, shaping the response modulation. This last strategy is applied when the emotion is fully present in us And it's about how we handle experiencing an emotion and how we translate it into behavior. Of course, if the emotion is helpful or not distracting, we don't have to do anything to regulate it. But when an emotion is urging us towards behavior that's potentially destructive, it's a better idea to first calm down and think about how we want to respond so we can honor the emotion's signal, but also not be impulsively destructive. And the best way to calm down is to go for a 20-minute walk or something similar. And if you can't take that much time, then at least take a deep breath, count to 3. We can also support this step of processing emotions, their experience and meaning, with activities like writing about them, talking about them, or activities that reduce the stress response in our bodies, like rhythmic physical activity, walking, biking, swimming, or grounding exercises or relaxation techniques. Do you have anything to add to this from your experience? Also, if you're new here, consider subscribing. And for those that haven't heard, I've written a 7-day email challenge called Courage to Do What Matters. You can subscribe to it at the link in the description box. Till next time, take care and remember to pay attention to, be aware of, and regulate your emotions.